when he forced rest upon them by instituting the Passover. Because the Passover is 7 days. And then after 7 days, you count 7 days. On the 7th day, you pick a lamb. And it is there for 7 days. So you have 14 days. When God forced rest upon the children of Israel, the entire economy now shifted. The finances were shifted during that time. When men entered rest. Yeah. Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? Truth be told, the people that right now are called billionaires in the world, that would completely shift if the children of Israel would understand, if the saints in this generation, the Israel of God in this generation, would understand what it is that I'm teaching you now. It tampers with everything, with every single thing. But because we have been forced to remain in these days of work, in the spaces of work, and in the spaces of work, you don't move by faith, and when you don't move by faith, you are not led by the Spirit. If you're not walking by faith, it means you're not being led. Yeah. Because when he leads you, where shall he lead you? Through the Red Sea. For you to walk on the sea, you require faith. If a person is not walking by faith, what is the one thing about them? They are not being led. They are not being led. So the glory of God now remains absent. And he keeps on looking for a man. He keeps on looking for somebody that will choose to walk in the way of the Lord. And that walk is the walk of faith. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. The ark of the Lord went ahead of them to seek them out, a resting place. As the ark of the Lord would advance ahead of them, Moses would pray and say what? Arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered. Let them that hate you, let them flee before you. Because God is seeking a man, a resting place. So enemies are scattered. Enemies are scattered. Because God is seeking people, a resting place. What is this resting place? When you can be perfected in the place of worship. When you can be perfected in the place of worship. That is the resting place. When you can be content by the presence of the Lord. When he becomes more than enough. So when you begin pursuing that, let me teach you something, child of God. When your heart begins going after God in that wise, in that day, all his enemies must be scattered. If God is increasing, then his enemies are being scattered. Not just yours. All his enemies be scattered. Because the enemies are the enemies of the intention of God, which is to settle men. In that day, let God arise. Let all his enemies be scattered. Let God arise. Let all his enemies be scattered. Let them that hate him flee before him. God did this thing to Jacob in Genesis chapter 35. It says, and the fear of the Lord fell upon all the nations that were around them, because the nations wanted to revenge, because Simeon and Levi had punished the iniquity of the Philistine king. They had punished that iniquity. And God told Jacob, told him, arise and go back to Bethel. When he arose to go back to Bethel, what happened? The Bible says the terror of the Lord fell upon all the nations that were around them. It says that none dared attack them. That is what normally happens when God begins to settle people on the earth. So because the enemy has studied that and seen what God has done in the past, so what does he do? Make you so unsettled that you will not wait for the deliverance of the Lord. Make you so anxious that you will not sit and wait for deliverance. Make your heart anxious. Some of you have been waiting upon the Lord, and you go to a place you stop waiting upon the Lord. Why? Because things did not go in a certain way that you wanted them to go. You stopped waiting upon the Lord because you have been waiting all these days and nothing has happened. The days you waited are not the days that are called the fullness of time. The Lord can never fail to show up in the fullness of time. The Lord can never, let me tell you that, child of God, the Lord, in the fullness of time, can never fail to show up. Can never. Can never. Why? Because that is his day. That's not the day of your deliverance. It's his day. But sometimes you went and you were told, I prayed for 21 days and I got a breakthrough. You prayed for 22 and a half. And instead of deliverance, you got more bondage.